Welcome back, students. In this video, we are going to learn division by a decimal number. It means the divisor is a decimal number. Let's start with example 1. Set up and calculate 21 divided by 0.7. In this example, the divisor 0.7 is a decimal number. In this case, what do we do? Steps to follow. When the divisor is a decimal number, we need to change it into a whole number. So here the divisor 0.7, we need it to become a whole number. To fix the problem, we multiply the divisor by 10, by 100, by 1000, depending on how many digits after the point the divisor has. Here 0.7 has one digit after the point. We need it to become 7, so we multiply 0.7 by 10. So when I multiply 0.7 by 10, we will obtain 7. Step 3, you also multiply the dividend by the same number that we multiplied the divisor by. So here, we don't just multiply the divisor by 10, we also multiply the dividend by the same number as we did with the divisor. So we also multiply 21 by 10. We obtain 210 times divided by 7. Next step, step 4, you set up the division using the obtained dividend and divisor. So here, we don't set up 21 divided by 0.7. We set up instead 210 divided by 7, 21 divided by 0.7, and 210 divided by 7, they have the same answer. So let's set up 210 divided by 7, 21 divided by 7, it's a 3, 7 times 3, it's 21, and the remainder is 0. Now we slide the 0, but pay attention, in this operation we don't place a decimal point in the quotient before we slide the 0, because 0 is in the whole part and not in the decimal part. So after sliding the 0, when we slide the divide, 0 divided by 7, it's 0 minus 0, it's 0. And 221 divided by 0.7 has the same answer as 210 divided by 7 equals 30. Here the quotient is exact, it's a whole number. Although the divisor is a decimal number, the quotient can be a whole number or a decimal number. In this case, it's a whole number. Example 2, set up and calculate 35 divided by 2.24. Steps to follow. The divisor 2.24 is a decimal number. We need to change it into a whole number, which is 224. To fix the problem, we multiply 2.24 by 100 because it has 2 digits after the point. We also multiply the dividend 35 by 100. What we multiply the divisor by, we do it the same for 35. And we obtain 3,500 divided by 224. 35 times 100 is 3,500, and 2.24 times 100 is the whole number 224. We set up the division 3,500 divided by 24. We obtain the same answer as 35 divided by 24. Let's set up this division. Here the divisor is a 3-digit number. 350 is greater than 224, we take it. And to estimate the quotient here, when the divisor has 3 digits, we need to hide the 1s and the 10s. We hide 2 digits. And we do the same in the dividend. So we hide the 50 and the 24. 3 divided by 2 is 1, and 224 times 1 is equal to 224. We write 1 in the quotient, and the remainder here is 10 minus 4 is 6. The 5 becomes 4 minus 2, it's 2, and 3 minus 2, it's 1. Now I slide the 0 to obtain 1,260. Now we hide 2 digits, 60 and 24. Then we estimate the quotient. 12 divided by 2, it's 6. Now let's check on the scratch paper. If 6 is correct, we multiply 224 by 6 and we obtain 1344, which is greater than 1260. So this is wrong. We try the 5. 224 times 5 is equal to 1120. It's less, so it's correct. So we write 1120 and we write 5 in the quotient, and the remainder is 0, 4, 1, 0. It's 140. Now the remainder is not 0 yet. I need to add 0.0 to the dividend, and before we slide the 0, the 10th digit, we need to place a decimal point in the quotient. Once we slide the 0, we obtain 1400. Let's divide it by 224. We need to hide 2 digits in the dividend and divisor. 14 divided by 2 is 7. We estimated that the quotient is 7. We multiply 224 by 7. We obtain 1568, which is greater than 1400. So we try the 6, it's already done. 1344, it's less, so it's correct, and we write the 6 in the quotient. And we find the remainder. 0 minus 4, it's less. We borrow from 40, become 39. 10 minus 4 is 6. 39 minus 34, here we write 5, and here we have zeros. The remainder is not 0 yet, so we add another 0 and we slide it. We obtain 560. Let's estimate the quotient. Let's hide 2 digits. 5 divided by 2, it's 2. So let's try the 2. 224 times 2 equals 448. It's less, so it's correct. So, and we write 2 in the quotient, and the remainder here is 0 minus 8. We borrow 5, here 5. 10 minus 8, it's 2. 5 minus 4, it's 1. 5 minus 4, it's 1. Now we need to add another 0. When we slide it, we obtain 1120. And if you notice, it's a multiple of 224. So we copy it the same. We write 5 in the quotient. And the remainder, it's 0. It's an exact quotient. And 35 divided by 2.24, it's equal to 15.625. Let's continue with example 3. Set up and calculate 4.5 divided by 3.6. Here we have both a dividend and divisor decimal numbers. But here what I care about is to make the divisor a whole number. So step 1, the divisor 3.6 is decimal number. We need to change it into a whole number 36. So we fix it by multiplying 3.6 by 10. And we do the same for the dividend 4.5. We also multiply it by 10. We obtain 45 divided by 36. And we set up the division of 45 divided by 36. We obtain the same answer as 4.5 divided by 36. Let's set up this division. Let's estimate the quotient by hiding 1 digit in the dividend and divisor, because the divisor is a 2-digit number. 4 divided by 3, it's 1. So we write 36 times 1, it's 36, and we write 1 in the quotient, and the remainder here is 9. To continue the division, we add 0.0 in the dividend, and before we slide the 10th digit, we add a decimal point in the quotient to obtain 90. Let's estimate the quotient now. 9 divided by 3, it's 3. We try it on the scratch paper. 36 times 3 equals 108, which is greater, so we try the 2. We obtain 72, which is correct. I write 72, I write 2 in the quotient, and the remainder here, it's 18. The remainder is not 0 yet. I add another useless 0. I slide it. I obtain 180. Let's estimate the quotient. 18 divided by 3, it's 6. So I try the 6 on the scratch paper. 36 times 6, we obtain 216, which is greater. So I try the 5. 36 times 5, it's exactly 180, which is a multiple of 36. And 36 times 5 is 180, and the remainder, it's 0. It's an exact quotient. And 4.5 divided by 3.6 is equal to 1.25. Example 4. Set up and calculate 1.5 divided by 7.5. Here, the dividend 1.5 is less than the divisor 7.5. But before, let's fix the problem of the divisor 7.5. Let's make it a whole number. Steps to follow: the divisor 7.5 is a decimal number. We need to change it into a whole number 75. So to fix the problem, we multiply 7.5 by 10. And we do the same for the dividend. We also multiply it by 10. Don't forget, if you don't multiply by 10, the answer will be wrong. It will be equal to 15 divided by 75. We set up the division of 15 divided by 75. We obtain the same answer as 1.5 divided by 75. Let's set up the division. 15 is less than 75, but it's the dividend. We place it to the right, 75 to the left. Attention, 15 here is less than 75, so we start by placing a 0 in the quotient. 15 divided by 75, it's 0. We do minus 0 and we obtain 15. Now we need to add 0.0 in the dividend, and before we slide the 10th digit 0, we place a decimal point in the quotient. When we slide the 0, we obtain 150. 150 divided by 75, we notice that 75 times 2 is 150. It's a multiple of 75. We write 150 and we write 2 in the quotient, and the remainder is 0. It's an exact quotient. And 1.5 divided by 7.5 is equal to 0.2. When the dividend is less than the divisor, the quotient is less than 1. Example 5. Set up and calculate 236.5 divided by 0.05. Steps to follow: the divisor 0.05 is a decimal number. We need to change it into a whole number 5. And since 0.05 has 2 digits after the point, we fix the problem by multiplying it by 100. We do the same. We multiply the dividend also by 100. We obtain here be careful, 236.5 times 100. We need to move the decimal point 2 times to the right. We add a 0 and the decimal point will be after the 0, and we obtain 23,650 divided by 5. We set up the division of 23,650 divided by 5. We obtain the same answer as 236.5 divided by 0.05. Let's set up this division. It's easy here. We take 23. 23 is not a multiple of 5. I have 20. 5 times 4, it's 20, and the remainder is 3. We slide the 6. 36 divided by 5, it's 7. Minus 35 equals 1. We slide the 5. 15 is a multiple of 5. 15 divided by 5, it's a 3. Minus 15, remainder 0. Now we still have 1 digit to slide, the 0. When you slide, you divide. Be careful, we don't stop here. 0 divided by 5, it's 0. 0 minus 0, it's 0. It's an exact quotient here, and it's a whole number. So 236.5 divided by 0.05 equals 4,730. Although the dividend and the divisor are decimal numbers, but the quotient here is a whole number because it has the same answer as this division. So be careful. Last example, example 6. Set up and calculate 205.568 divided by 6.4. So here we have the same problem. The divisor is a decimal number. Steps to follow: the divisor 6.4 is a decimal number. We need to change it into a whole number 64. So to fix the problem, we multiply 6.4 by 10. And we do the same for the dividend. We also multiply 205.568 by 10. But here, if we multiply 205.568 by 10, we will still obtain a decimal number. We move the decimal point 1 time to the right. We obtain 2055.68 divided by 64. So it doesn't matter here if the dividend is still a decimal number. What matters is for the divisor to become a whole number, because we know how to divide a decimal number by a whole number. We learned it in our previous video. So you set up the division of 2055.68 by 64. We obtain the same answer as the original division. After setting up the division, here the divisor is a 2-digit number. Here 20 is less, so we take 205. Let's estimate the quotient. We hide the ones digit in 205 and in 64. 20 divided by 6, here we have 3. 3 times 6, 18. We try the 3 on the scratch. 64 times 3, it's 192. It's less than 205, so we write 3 in the quotient. And the remainder here, 5 minus 2, it's 3, and 20 minus 19, it's 1. Now we slide the 5. We obtain 135. Let's estimate the quotient. 13 divided by 6, it's 2, almost 2. And 64 times 2 equals 128. It's less than 135. It's correct. We write 2 in the quotient. And the remainder here, 15 minus 8, it's 7. Here becomes 2. And we have zeros. Now we need to slide the 10th digit 6. And before we do so, we need to place a decimal point in the quotient. We obtain 76. Let's estimate the quotient. 7 divided by 6, it's 1. 64 times 1, it's 64. We write 1 in the quotient, and the remainder here, it's 12. We slide the 8 to obtain 128. Let's estimate the quotient. But here we already did it on the scratch. It's a multiple of 64. So we write 128, and we write 2 in the quotient, and the remainder here, it's 0. 205.568 divided by 6.4 is equal to 32.12. So here in the last example, be careful. It doesn't matter if the dividend is still a decimal number. What matters is for the divisor to become a whole number. We just need to fix the problem in the divisor because we know how to divide a decimal number by a whole number. All we have to do is to place a decimal point in the quotient when we slide the 10th digit. So this is the end of this video. Thank you for watching.